it's me, Goku!
Hey Goku, so you got a new Budokai Tenkaichi game coming out soon, huh? Well, in honor of that, I wanted to do a little thought experiment. Instead of the actual preliminary matches in the old World Tournament days, I got a fancy punching machine that spits out how hard you can punch with the score. I always wondered how those scores were calculated.
Next on
Wait,
Ball
Goku,
Z
no!
Kai.
Goku, don't play me off! I'm
Goku's
still
brother,
trying to explain what to do!
The mighty
Goku,
Saiyan
no!
Warriors! Don't miss it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to this theory video, I guess. And I just wanted to say that Dragon Ball is one of my favorite franchises out there, right next to Zelda and Sonic. Growing up and watching DBZ and eventually owning my orange bricks, you know the orange bricks, the old DVD remastered sets, man, I begged for these every time I went to the store. My first set was Season 7 and Season 8, which funnily enough on the back of this box has pictures of the Cell Saga on it, but I digress. These two seasons covered the filler Otherworld tournament arc and Gohan going to high school all the way up until Majin Buu gets his puppy. I watched this set on repeat, and by the way, Saiyaman and Gohan's high school antics, best part of the entire series. And also, Buu Saga, best saga. Oh, and one more thing while we're here. Long hair Videl is best Videl. Okay, that's enough rambling. So why am I telling you all this? Well, I was saying, before Goku rudely interrupted me, that I wanted to talk about this mechanism here, the punch machine. And due to the already ballooning popularity of Mr. Satan, who had won the 24th World Tournament, and not to mention the fact that Hercule defeated Cell, and it was broadcasted all over the world, so the announcement of a new World Tournament with Hercule returning as the prior champion just caused involvement and contestant applications in this World Tournament to skyrocket to an unbelievable level and make it more of a commercial tournament than anything we've ever seen before. Hence, a junior division and the punching machine. So, the punch machine makes it a quick and easy process to progress the tournament. So, why am I so interested in this thing? Well, Mr. Satan himself tests the punch machine to razz up the crowds and the cameras, so he puts his all into this punch, and it spits out a score of 137. Amazement ensues, of course, because of course it does. It's Mr. Satan. What do you expect? And, I mean, I'll be honest, 137 looks like a pretty incredible number if you ask me, considering the next few contestants that were shown, a boxer, a karate man, and a freaking bear score lower than Mr. Satan. But then, here comes Android 18, aka Lazuli. Everyone makes fun of her because she's a girl in the big tournament full of boys. Good old husband Krillin out here saying, hey, take it easy, like, you know, you don't want to draw any necessary attention to yourself. Of course, 18 does take it easy, and gives the punch machine a good old backhand. Use me? This bewilders everyone, but of course, it's a simple error of the punch machine. There's no way this female contestant can score so much higher than Mr. Satan. Let's just recalibrate it real quick. Go ahead and try again, ma'am. She definitely holds back even more this time, and a more acceptable score of 203 pops up. Thus follows the rest of the Z Fighters with scores considerably higher than Hercule's. And then along comes Vegeta, who just flat out destroys this entire punch machine, and follows one of the best frames of the series.
Oh, wow.
And my fascination in all this lies simply in the fact of how are these points getting measured? And in hindsight, you'll see it's a pretty easy answer, but just the thought of that bewildered me. So in order to figure out these points, you gotta figure out this punch machine. And like most things that measure some sort of action, we'll need to find the force behind it. That's right, we gotta bust out the old Newtons. No, not those things. Yes, I'm sure MatPat has made that joke already, just leave me alone. In order to find the force behind something, you also need to find the mass of the object doing the force and its acceleration, making it F equals M times A, or force equals mass times acceleration. And there are more specific ones out there, but I've spent so much time researching them and trying to find the right one for punches that I just settled for this because I was getting so confused and this video would have never come out. And this is where a lot of assumptions come into play, so please bear with me. From the Dragon Ball Super Exciting Guide, it states characters, heights, and weights. I use this to pull from Mr. Satan, who stands at 6'2" and weighs 208 pounds or 94 kilograms. Android 18 isn't on here, but somewhere I saw some guesses that she weighs roughly 130 to 135 pounds, roughly 60 kilograms. We'll use these weights for these two characters, as well as one surprise character we're going to take into consideration. That's right, this bear that we see for one frame here, and then this bear that we see again for another couple frames here to actually punch the machine. And no joke, this is what made this thought experiment actually make sense to me. First, let's go over Hercule. Now, originally I wanted to figure out 18's force when she punched the punching bag with her backhand, as well as all the other Z fighters, but none of their calculations made any sense to me, because obviously they're holding back so much power, so I just went with the obvious, the person who's giving it their all, Mr. Satan. We abide by F equals MA, the M being 94 kilograms, so what we need to find now is A, acceleration. But in order to do that, we need to find the punch's velocity, which is velocity equals distance divided by time. Here are more assumptions. Watching the episode, you get a few good shots of the tournament floor. The closest approximation I can get to distance is Vegeta and Krillin comparatively, since Krillin is roughly 5 feet tall and Vegeta is not that much taller. Using them as a base, the tiles on the floor are also 5 feet by 5 feet. And look at where Hercule's punching. He does a big wind up towards the back of the square, and the punch machine's at the start of the next square, with his fist going beyond that 5 feet threshold behind him, so I'm assuming his fist is traveling 6 feet to get to the punch machine. Now for time, there are lots of frames happening when he starts to move towards the punch machine, but it's all build up and dramatic flair, so I only counted the actual times where the fist was moving towards the machine where we could see it comparatively. And that is about 4 to 5 frames, so 0.2 to 0.25 seconds. I went with the fastest time, 0.2 seconds, because I gotta make Hercule look good here. So with that, we have our distance and our time, meaning that if you divide the 6 feet by 0.2 seconds, you get 30 feet per second as the velocity, or 9.14 meters a second. Yippee! Now all we gotta do is use that 9.14 meters a second to find the acceleration, which is the change in velocity divided by the change in time. But since both of those starting points are 0, it's basically just 9.14 meters a second divided by 0.2 seconds again. And with that, you get your acceleration of 45.7 meters a second squared. Now, multiply that with his weight of 94 kilograms, and you get 4,295.8 newtons, or around 950 pounds of force, 431 kilograms. All you should know right now, that is enough power to break the biggest bone in your leg, the femur. So now we made sense of Hercule's punch, let's move on to the bear character. Now, looking at the singular shots of this bear, it's obvious this is a human hybrid bear. So how the heck can I test the punch of a human hybrid bear? Well, I just said screw it. I'm going to make Hercule look as good as possible and make it one of the strongest bears we know of today. That's the Kodiak bear. This bear has one of the strongest swipes measured by a bear, and that's around 1900 psi, pounds per square inch. Alright, so what the heck does that even mean? Well, it's in the name. It's pounds per square inch, meaning that for every surface area of 1 square inch, 1900 pounds of force is being applied to it. For every addition in that square inch, like 2 or 3 square inches, the pounds of force start to dissipate, like if you were to splash in a pool of water and see the ripple effect slowly disappear as it gets further away. Paraphrasing this Kiora user, Jack Fraser Govel, imagine 60 psi of something biting you. If it was a chihuahua, that would hurt a lot. Its tiny teeth and jaws being applied to this scenario would tear off some skin because of its smaller surface area. Comparatively, a 60 psi bite from a blue whale, that would just be like something gently gnawing on your arm. So this bear's swipe, taking into account 1 square inch, is at 1900 pounds of force. Now how can I convert this to newtons and compare it to Hercule? Well, here's some more assumptions. Male Kodiak bears can weigh up to 520 kilograms. Now watching the shots and counting the frames and guessing the distances, all while applying the same formulas that we did to Hercule, I'm thinking that this bear is hitting for about 8,803.6 newtons, or around 1,979 pounds of force, or 898 kilograms. So now I bet you're thinking, alright, look at these results. Something's up. This bear is clearly putting up more punching power than Hercule. Well, it's a lot more complicated than this raw Newton power or pounds of force, because now we have to bring this PSI stuff into the equation, the square inch surface area that the punch is being applied to. Using this handy dandy website calculator, we can put in all the values we got from our equations and have them spit out newtons and PSI, because it isn't really easily converted into each other. But why are we doing this? It's clear that the bear is stronger, so what's the point? Kodiak bears have front paws that measure in at about 11.5 inches in both length and width on average. If we apply that to our bear character, who seems to have a pretty rounded paw, we can find that the area of the circular paw to be about 120 square inches. Now if we look at that online calculator again, there's a spot that asks for surface area in square inches. At first, I was like, why would that matter? But it turns out that's what affects the PSI output. So, if we input the 120 square inches from the bear paw onto the calculator with their calculations on it, it drastically changes what the PSI is. The newtons and force stay the same because that is the force of the punch, but the PSI changes with the given surface area. And when I put in the 120 square inches of surface area, I got a really low PSI number. And I thought, wow, this is a lot more grounded, like the punching machine's numbers. So then I thought, okay, let me put in Hercule's numbers again, and let me change the surface area to be that of an area of a human knuckle. I measured my knuckles to be about 5.5 to 6 inches across and 1 inch deep, giving me an area of about 6 square inches. I put that in the calculator, and lo and behold, I get a score that's really close to 137. So I just mess with the surface area number just a little bit, and with the surface area of 7 square inches, I get the PSI of 137. Exactly Hercule's score on the punch machine. We found it! So then if we mess around with the bear's data points and mess with the surface area, we can find that in order to get 112 PSI or 112 points on the punching machine, the bear would have to have the total surface area of 17.6 square inches. And that makes sense. I mean, as you can see from images of the Kodiak bear, these paws are huge, way bigger than any human fist. So to think of the square inches that hit the punch machine is about 17 square inches, I think that's not too far off than what is likely. So is that it then? Did we figure out what this punch machine measures and how it does it? Basically, this punch machine is basically just a pressure mechanism that's measuring the PSI output of these fighters' punches. And that's pretty cool to find out. That's super neat. But there's still a couple of unanswered questions that I have. For one, Hercule's output seemed very low than what I was initially thinking. When I first started this project, I was Googling and looking up, like, how strong is Hercule? And one of the most bewildering things that I came across was this Reddit post from user TheShibe23, I hope I said that right, who got bored and did the math for how much force is required to do what Mr. Satan did in his first appearance, which is anime exclusive, so not quite technically official and or canon, kind of just filler. But all of this information that the TheShibe23 gave to us is pretty telling of how strong I really thought Hercule was. I mean, look at this, saying that he can pull 4 tour buses, tearing open 3 phone books, and just punching through a bus straight up. It takes a lot of power to do that, as you can see from the post. And when I saw that his Satan punch only did this much power, kinda threw me off. And the other thing I had questioned was, how in the world did Android 18 come up with the score of 772? Well, just for fun, I messed with what the surface area would need to be given her calculations, like her weight, punching speed, and it came out to needing a surface area of 0.0664 square inches, which is quite literally nothing. It's like the air hit the punching machine before she did. So yeah, it's basically impossible to be able to measure any of the Z Fighters punches given the actual information we have, because that would lead to realistic numbers and not something like that. So unfortunately, I won't be able to predict or guess how strong any of these people are when they're holding back, because who knows how much they're actually holding back as well. And I mean, Vegeta just absolutely demolished this machine. I think what I found here is pretty good. I'm very satisfied with my answer of how the punch machine gets its scores from. But with that being said, that's all I got. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions about anything or think I screwed something up doing calculations or any sort of understanding in there, please let me know. I'm a very amateur man who does not know a lot about PSI or anything like that, so please let me know if I got anything wrong in the comments below. But with that being said, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z.